There are some WTF moments in movie history, big plot twists, eyebrow raiser moments, where your only thought is, what am I seeing here? At first, this is what I thought at the beginning of the menu, but just like a new dish you are trying and not knowing what's going on right now, at the end, where you chewed, tasted, and swallowed all of the food, you get an overall impression of the dish. And this movie tasted lovely, bitter, sad, genius at the same time. After watching the film, I sat at home and I thought about it, and really, this was all a recipe, or call it a manual, for how to waste your talent as an artist. So what's it about? Some celebrity head chef invited some special guests for a new menu he brought up to on an abandoned island. Anyways, throughout the movie, you experience some highly shiny gourmet stuff and funny gags. But as you keep watching, you already sense that things are getting pretty cringe. To sum it up, the invited guests make up the final dish for the menu. You guessed it right, the people are the ingredients. To be short, he sets the whole place, including himself, his team and the guests, on fire. But don't forget, this is no cannibalism movie, but much more a revenge and resignation story. So what is it all about? Well, the head chef is being really specific about his plan. The whole menu is a recipe for undermining your work as an artist. And he is expressing the suffer from his undermined art by identifying the main factors and putting them together into an allegoric dish, more likely their behavior in the past. Pretty serious stuff, but it gets deeper once you realize his recipe actually does make sense. Well, I mean not the life grilling part of the people, but his motivation for his resignation. To understand this, we have to recap who the invited guests are. There is an assorted actor with his girlfriend, some sort of a foodie guy with his company, there is a selected food critique with some sycophant, an old rich couple, and finally 3 young businessmen from a big company. All of them contributed somehow to his doomed art. So let's start with the foodie guy. He knows every bit of detail of the artist and his work. He knows where the ingredients do come from, how it has been prepared, and what distinct flavors it has in them. So what does he represent? Obviously, those obsessed fans that don't care about constructive critique or don't enjoy the art of work anymore. Rather, they radically and obsessively accept every outcome of the artist without criticizing his behavior or giving an honest opinion. For real. The head chef could kill 2 people in the process of cooking, or could have stolen the beef he is using for his dish. This type of fan would even glorify his acts and consider it as part of the ideal as an artist. He is one of those hardcore nerds who know every bit of detail of work and dramatically reveal their secrets. They see their purpose in analyzing and dismantling the magic of the work, the mystery and overall taste of the art. The breakdown of all these secrets leads to the disintegration of the artist and his work as a whole. The businessmen. They are the typical personification of event tourism. People like to go there to be able to tell other people about it afterwards. But they roughly can explain what it all really was about. Their only interest is the monetization and the business behind the work. They love to see an uprising artist because the more successful he becomes, the more they are going to profit from it. The rich people. They are some sort of self-claimed cultural high society class. You engage with culture because it equates to your own high standards, and not because you are simply interested in art. Your presence there is what is fulfilling. So you go to visit museums thousands of times and watch the same paintings more than 1 time a year, but you never really remember one specific event. The only thing they enjoy are their own thoughts, statements, and ideas they come up with. So they enjoy themselves more than the artist or his work. The film star. He is just there to show off and use his fame to have access to artistic events. The plot twist there is that the head of chef explained what a miserable life he had so far because of the pressure put on him and the lost love for his work. And the one time he is free and at home, he was watching a movie from this actor, which was supposedly bad, so he blamed the actor that he wasted his free time with his boring stuff. So even his free time is not enjoyable anymore because of the other artists who lost their true work of art like himself. The head himself. The head himself blames himself too by living like a robot and not an artist. He sold his soul to investors to gain resources for his work. That's one thing. The other thing is he lived by the principle that you don't need to have fun for your work. The perfect measures, timings, and countless efforts is what makes your work the best in the world. He was always competing against others and wanted to beat them whatever it takes. He also put the same pressure on his team, claiming that they will never reach his own potential and should give up their hopes as soon as possible. So he considers himself as a god who has made it, but he is a god who doesn't enjoy his work anymore and doesn't feel any bliss. The team. The team is an open kitchen that reveals behind the scenes of the work. You see the work live and its workers, and you actually see how art is produced. We live in a time where art has changed drastically. We also enjoy what is called performance art. The artist is exposed while doing art. This means also his vulnerability is presented, as shown in the movie by his old mother sitting in the background at the desk, which can be seen as a symbol for his past life as a kid. So at this point, you know so much about the childhood of the artist, you pretty much know his personality and background. The food critique. The head chef misliked the idea that he directed his work to the critiques of this woman, not knowing that her true motive was to push her own ego and not to criticize his work in a constructive manner. So, now that we wrote down the recipe, you ask yourself, how can we avoid these dangers? Well, most of the things lie outside of your control, but there is a little space where you can counteract. So to all these established and uprising artists out there, remind yourself, who do you want to produce your work for? For you, for others, or simply for art itself? Eventually, there will come a time where you will reach only the people who have the money for your art but don't deserve it. Whereas people who deserve your art and understand it don't have the same resources to get in touch with your art. So art is completely commercialized. You can show so much love and put effort in your work, then show off, compete against others, and distract the people with the shallow beauty of your art. Complicate things with fancy explanations and statements. But most of the time your work comes down to a few simple things. Just like here. Am I satiated? And does it taste? That's what Margot basically was criticizing of the head chef. Maybe sometimes it is better to make l'art pour l'art and not making art for a function or an objective. Money, good critiques, competition, fan service. Just seek this moment where you are in a flow and it just feels right what you're doing. Not because it will make more money or it will have good critiques or it fits your public ideal, but because you love what you're doing and because it is coming from inside. Once you are finished, you have to let it out and let the world do with it whatever it wants. It is none of your job anymore how it is perceived. A good dose of distance to the people enjoying your art may be better for the integrity of the art and also the health of the artist. This is perfectly in line with the final scene of the movie. The simple girl enjoying a simple cheeseburger made with love, but from a far distance where the cheeseburger came from and what background it has and who made it. And it was only her who could open up to art.